my practice, I've seen a significant injury to this kind of thing a couple times. The worst I saw was I had a baseball pitcher, sorry, it's a shortstop, who in the holidays went home and he worked in the deli. Yeah, so those blades are really, really, really sharp. So he caught his finger on a blade. And he's like, that's not good. And he went to the emergency room. It's like, fix it. And they look at it and they're like, oh, okay, everything seems fine, and they stitch it back up and send him home. So now I have a starting shortstop at the #2 ranked school for D3 baseball, which is a pretty big deal. And we can't have him play because, well, he has no finger range of motion on his index finger, which means he has no control over the ball whatsoever. So it's definitely been long enough. We're talking a month for him to have healed. And there's going to be some remodeling and everything else that we've discussed. But he has no flexion whatsoever. So, given permission, we start doing some releasing of the scar tissue so that, because we presume that the way the tendon was healing, because we presumed that when they stitched him up, they made sure everything was intact. So, we started releasing the scar tissue, and one day we felt a pop. We're like, good, bad pop, good pop, can you move it? He's like, yes, I can. It was amazing. So we broke the scar tissue, which restricted all the fascia and everything else, and he could move it. So he went back out and he was doing some light toss, he got a little bit longer, and then he did a long ball, and he felt another pop. That was a bad pop. And then he had no range of motion, and it was actually fully extended, which you'll find out in ortho has fun, happy names as well. So what we believe is that when he cut it with the meat slicer, he actually cut part of the tendon, and they didn't pay attention to that. And so when it just healed, yeah, there was extra scar tissue, but that was stabilizing an almost completely ruptured tendon. So we released the scar tissue so the tendon can work right, except now it's extremely weak tendon. So to fix that, if you damage the extensor hood, there's so much going on in other places, you don't lose it from one point of attachment. There's no like impulsion. If you damage the anterior side through here, that muscle will withdraw the tendon. So then you flex that flex that muscle, it's going to pull that tendon down into your hand through all of the synovial sheathing. So you have to have a surgeon go in, fish it back through, and then anchor it in place, and you've got your hand like this with pins coming out of it, holding it there. So we lost our shortstop for a very long time. So hands are not something that I encourage you to take lightly, because this is the rest of your life. And losing that is a bad thing. Extensor retinaculum. So we've got another little tissue over the back. We've got the same kind of synovial sheathings that go under that tendon so that they don't get bound up. You can get inflammation caught up within these sheathings just like you can with the Achilles tendon. And there's our dorsal hood again, our extensor hood. Finger ligaments, we've got mostly just collaterals on either side, which helps stabilize your medial lateral positioning so that if you bounce and bear and stress it, you've got tendons that hold it in place, ligaments that hold it in place. So fairly simple, for the most part, simple construction. Except when we get to the volar surface, the palmar surface, we have this palmar ligament. It's called a volar plate, a palmar plate. And that little doodad, it helps us from extending the joint too far. It's a very rigid, solid plate of ligamentous tissue organized in here that restricts hyperextension, sorry. And we'll get into issues with it when we get into finger dislocations and so forth when we come into ortho. But knowing it's there is Very important, because you need to know how you can jack it up. The wrist is a condyloid joint, scaphoid and lunate with the radius. Gives us flexion, extension, ulnar and radial deviation, circumduction. So flexion, extension, ulnar and radial deviation, and then circumduction. We have a radiocollateral ligament, the radial styloid and the scaphoid on this side. Ulnar collateral ligament, which is the ulnar styloid, the pisiform, and triquetral. And then we have something called the triangular fibrocartilage complex. So which bone is this? Radius. Right there. So radius. This is the ulna, smaller at the distal end. So the majority of your wrist is made up of this articulation of the scaphoid and the lunate, scaphoid, lunate, as it articulates with the radius. We deepen that and stabilize this with this triangular fibrocartilage. So this ligamentous banding that wraps around here and extends up across the triquetrum. Sorry, to the trapezoid. Triquetrum's on this side. But that keeps us to where we've got a lot of range of motion and ulnar deviation, but not nearly as much to go into radial. As you pull it up, and that fibrocartilage is going to, the triangular fibrocartilage is going to help stabilize this from displacing too far. Anatomical snuff box we just talked about. We've got abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis. So abductor pollicis longus, extensor pollicis brevis, extensor pollicis longus. And deep underneath that, if you palpate, is going to be your scaphoid bone.
Oh my God.
So that's the majority of your anatomy coming through here.
Is it feeling better? Is it feeling better?
Questions on this one?
Sí, entiendo que sí. Ella no
¿Es
lo
este?
Sí, ella no lo puede.
This is one of the weird people.
Ajá, lo que está
O sea,
diciendo.
ajá, lo que estoy explicando de-
No, se
de-
cortó ese.
No se corta. Y se está.
Did you finish?
So what,
Did it
what
die?
bends this one?
Did it?
But I'm gonna start timing.
The what?
He said I can start timing.
So the class challenge at this point is to flex just your pinky.
Can't.
Oh,
Oh. Say
how can you do
what?
that?
So we have one freak of nature up here.
I can't.
All those gang signs. I've been throwing gang signs for a while.
No, I can do it.
I can't.
That's weird. I have to do it really, really slow. I have to put these together.
So flex it all the way down without moving your ring finger. If you can torture your face even more, it might work.
How do you do it?
Nick can do it.
¿Cómo le haces?
So why not?
Alex is weird.
Nick can do it.
You put cross on it.
That pinky.
So why can you not do that?
Hey, can you do this? ¿Puedes hacer esto?
All the way down.
No.
That's really cool. All right.
I can do it too.
Woo! So there's a couple.
Do it.
So she can away with it. So why is that the case? Anybody want to take a stab at it?
Extensor.
What muscle, identify that first, what muscle flexes it at the tip, or even at across the PIP or across the DF?
Did you team enemy?
So FDS is going to go across your proximal, your PIP. FDP is going to FDP is going to go across your distal. The way those muscles are really put together is it's kind of a common muscle group that have unique tendons that go down. So it's not, you just don't have, for most of us anyway, you don't have a unique muscle attached to a unique tendon. You have a common tendon group that goes down. You can have that same conversation with your toes too.
This thing just do. Wait, I need to
You
do
have a
something.
common flexor digitorum longus that commonly flexes your toes.
Yeah, you're supposed to.
So to get control and flex one digit more than the other, this isn't going to happen. Stop diving at me, please.
We got this like alien crabs in your toes.
Oye, Iván, entonces, ¿qué será? Si no lo puede, él lo puede doblar.
Alright,
y yo sí lo
so
puedo
next
doblar.
class, next Monday, will be
Bueno, ahorita te digo.
splitting into